Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about two SpongeBob episodes. The goal of the video is for you, the viewer, to determine which episode is better between the two. I will make an argument for one episode, and my friend Nick will make the argument for the other. At the end of the video, you can decide who you agree with more and can express your opinion in the comments section below. Now that that's out of the way, let's just jump right into it. For my episode, I'm going to be talking about the episode Tentacle-Vision, which is the first episode of Season 7, and this episode is a gem. So, starting with a little summary, Squidward wakes up early to watch his classy show, Fab and Fancy, but finds out it's been cancelled and replaced by Zeus the Guitar Lord, who's just a young guy and doesn't even own a guitar. Squidward calls in to complain and learns this guy was gifted the show from his mom for his birthday, and that they pretty much give a show to anyone. Squidward then calls into the network saying, "Give me a TV show, I want a show." Squidward gets the show, but things escalate pretty fast as keeping a show away from someone like SpongeBob is hard to do. So with that plot, you can already tell they had a great idea going, and they execute this idea very well. What I love about this episode is that almost all the main characters are featured in this episode. You can see characters like Larry making an appearance, and the fact that the meeting spot for all these characters is Squidward's house is just very funny to me. So I mentioned before how Squidward's show escalates pretty fast, and here's the domino effect of how Squidward's goal for his show gets ruined. It all starts with SpongeBob as he sees Squidward on TV because Gary was flipping channels. SpongeBob then goes over to tell Patrick, and Patrick wants to be on TV. Mr. Krabs finds the show on TV and runs over to advertise for the Krusty Krab for promotional gain. And then, while Mr. Krabs is promoting the Krusty Krab, he sings, "We don't just want you, we want your money too." And Sandy's watching this show at this point and sees that Mr. Krabs is line dancing, and Sandy believes she can do a better job at line dancing, so she runs over to do so. Then we see Pearl walking, asking Mr. Krabs for money, and sees that Mr. Krabs is on TV and that they're all line dancing. Pearl finds the line dancing lame and runs over there with her cheer pom-poms, claiming her cheer routine is what the show needs. Pearl's dancing then causes collateral damage as when she jumps, she's destroying everything and everyone's getting launched into the air. Plankton sees this and claims he can cause more collateral damage, and he heads over there asking Karen to bring him his death ray. Squidward just sits there in defeat until he finally snaps, kicking everyone out, asking them what do they think this is, a housewarming? Right when he says this, Larry hears this and runs in, inviting all his buddies, saying it's a housewarming. And Squidward's show gets totally ruined, and all these guys are promoting and doing their own little thing on the show, and you just see him sitting there in defeat. At this point, it's not even Squidward's show anymore, it's just the rest of the characters' show, and they're all doing their own thing that they find fun or for their own gain, and it's just a total domino effect. I loved how this played out and how we see each character get included and their reasoning for wanting to be on the TV show. And after this, there's only more insult to injury for Squidward. The TV network ratings guy comes over and kicks Squidward off his own show, and Squidward is forced to watch the show from his own bedroom and can't go downstairs. His show is now a top show called Squidward's House Party, which is hosted by Zeus, who's finally able to buy the guitar he wanted, and thanks Squidward. Everyone from SpongeBob to Plankton also has a nice role on this new show, and they're all having a blast. This episode is not a win for Squidward, who I like, but I can put his misery aside for this episode as this episode is done very well. The fact that this is a Season 7 episode and the animation looks great, and we see a fresh idea that involves most of the cast, is just a great way to show the viewers that the show is still very good and will always have some gems in it, even in the later seasons. Now I want to get into some of the jokes and comments I liked from this episode. First off, I like how Zeus's show is casually airing around 5 a.m. This young dude didn't even want a TV show, but got gifted one, and he just stands there complaining, saying he wanted this guitar and got this instead, and he has a hotline if anyone wants to call in and chat with him. I just found this to be really funny as this kid's like miserable, and he's up at 5 a.m. and didn't get the gift he had in mind. Next, I found it funny that Squidward doesn't want to tell SpongeBob about his show at work, but remembers he waited his whole life to have enough glory to rub it into someone's face. And then it emphasizes anyone's face, and then the show just zooms in on SpongeBob, who has a big smile, and he just looks goofy as hell. We also see some prime Patrick in this episode, as he has some nice wise-ass comments and signature dumb moments. It starts with SpongeBob telling Patrick he's on TV, and then Patrick immediately runs home to his own house to turn on the TV and finds out he's not on TV, And then he goes up to SpongeBob back on the show asking why he lied to him. Squidward then asks Patrick, "Just how dumb are you?" And Patrick says, "It varies." Then a few moments later, Patrick runs up to the camera and opens his mouth so his mouth is on TV. And then it just shows a real life mouth open wide, and some grandma watching the show calls the show disgusting, as that moment is pretty disgusting. And finally, Squidward yells at Patrick, "Can you get out of here?" And Patrick replies, "Doubt it." Just a really good Patrick episode out of nowhere. He's not the main character in this episode by any means, but when he's talking on this episode, it's very well done. Lastly, what made me laugh out loud was SpongeBob trying to hold the mic for Squidward, and he accidentally socked Squidward in the face with this microphone. This microphone also makes that signature mic sound when it hits something, and he really gets socked just right on the side of the face, and which one of the things I laughed out loud watching. This episode really impressed me as I find myself enjoying some of the later seasons of SpongeBob. I guess this episode would be considered old these days, but season 7 is definitely not associated with the prime SpongeBob and the amazing episodes found there. So with the episode taking place in Squidward's house, featuring most of the main characters and being full of jokes, is the reason why I decided to talk about this episode, and why I feel, even after listening to Nick's points on his episode, you will prefer Tentacle-Vision more. Speaking of Nick, I'm going to let him speak now, and I'm sure he has some good stuff to say about his episode.
The episode that I will be discussing is the season 11 episode Mustard Oh Mine. In this episode, Mr. Krabs orders SpongeBob, Squidward, and Patrick down into the mustard mines to mine up some more mustard after SpongeBob uses up all of it on the customers. Before they can go down into the mines, an old man who claims to be a curse warns them to not go down into the mines and take the mustard. The group wasn't buying it, so they went in anyway. As soon as they enter, there is already trouble because SpongeBob and Patrick start jumping up and hitting the ceiling, which causes a cave-in that blocks the entrance and their exit out of there. This already puts Squidward in a bad mood, like always. After this, they see a huge hole in the wall where an elevator should be, but when they look down, it just looks like a bottomless pit. SpongeBob says he'll check it out, so he just chucks himself into the hole. He then appears behind Squidward and Patrick and nonchalantly says, "Yeah, it's bottomless. Let's just take the elevator." They then take the elevator that magically appeared behind them down to the mines. When they are on their way down on the elevator, there is a clever joke where they pass coal miners, sulfur miners, and unaccompanied miners. I don't know why there are children in the mine, but we move on. Some of the funnier moments of this episode happen when they start digging for mustard, like when SpongeBob and Patrick are disappointed that they keep finding gold and diamonds instead of mustard. But Squidward gets hyped up when he hears that, so he tries to find the gold and diamonds, but he only hits sand when he tried to dig. This leads to a clever joke where the sand was actually connected to a sandbox, so it starts to drain with a kid still in it. The kid lands in the mines and starts to freak out. He runs all over the place, but he calms down instantly as soon as he gets on the elevator to go back up. Mr. Krabs then calls them down in the mines to see how they are doing, because the customers are going crazy without their mustard. After this call, Squidward finds what appears to be an abandoned subway that takes them directly to the condiment section of the mine. When they get there, they almost immediately find mustard. But then the old man who claimed to be a curse showed up and revealed that he just said that he was a curse to deter them from going into the mines and getting the mustard. This is because the mustard has built up a ton of pressure, so it will explode if it is mined. They think that the old man is just trying to keep the mustard for himself, so they dig it up anyway. But when they do, it explodes and a ton of mustard is shot up and blows the roof off of the Krusty Krab, and the customers are finally happy to have their mustard. I also thought it was funny when the old man escaped. He acted just like the kid. He ran around all crazy before being completely calm on the elevator up. Even though this is a later episode, I think this rekindled what old SpongeBob was like. It is definitely one of the best newer episodes that they have come out with. All of the jokes were really solid, so you could laugh all the way through. Plus, this SpongeBob, Squidward, and Patrick dynamic is always nice when it is pulled off correctly, which this episode does really well. I think this episode can be put up there with some of the greats. It is definitely worth giving a chance. It is a lot of fun to watch.
Alright, guys, so we both got to share an episode with you, and now it's up to you to decide which episode you prefer more. Nick and I both shared some great points on our episode, as they are both great later episodes in the series. It's always great to talk about SpongeBob, as the show is a classic and means a lot to countless people, including myself. That is going to wrap up this video. As always, we hope you enjoyed, and we will see you in the next video. If you have anything to say, I would love to read it down in the comments below. Thank you for your time, and take care.